Hello, this is Robert Kiyosaki, and I'm going to be talking to you about my latest book. The title of the book is called Fake. Fake money, fake teachers, and fake assets. And the reason I'm doing this video today is I'm here to ask for your participation, your cooperation. I'm asking for your support, for your feedback, for your input, for your critique. So the reason we're doing this thing on fake is, in my opinion, it's the reason the Rich Dad Company was formed. So I really want to know what you have to say, what your questions are, so we can make Fake a better book. So what we're going to do is we're going to release Fake in part by part online, chapter by chapter, so you can read it and then you can submit your questions. You can submit your questions to therealkiyosaki.com. Once again, therealkiyosaki.com. So the chapter will appear online for free. Please read it. It's not really, I'm not looking for comments. I want to know, what didn't I cover? What questions do you still have? What I'm going to say will probably upset most people, as I always do, because it goes against everything you've been taught, like saving money and all those other things. So I'm not looking for that. I want to know, what questions do you have that I haven't answered in the book? So got that? You're going to send me hate mail and all those other critiques? Well, I'll just ignore those, but you can send them if you like, okay? But anyway, I really want to know what I didn't cover in this book, because this book, Fake, is about why the Rich Dad Company was formed in the first place. If I use your question inside my book, Fake, then I will send you a personally autographed thank you book, the real book of Fake, to you. Anyway, so that's the deal. You ask me a question that I think is pertinent, that actually helps make the book a better book, I will send you a copy of my book, autographed to you. So that's the deal. So let me explain what the book Fake is about and why it was so relevant to the Rich Dad Company. This is the big picture. This is 1895 to 2015, 120 years of the Dow. And what you see here is the giant crash of 1929. That was the giant crash of 1929. It was nothing. And you look over here, this is the giant crash. I mean, everybody talks about the giant crash of 1987. There it is there. It was nothing. Absolutely nothing. It nearly wiped out the U.S. This put us into a depression for 25 years. That little blip there. Now you look at what's happening. This is 2000. This is 2008. And here we are today. So I ask you this. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. If this baby crashes again, how big will it be? That's the question. And so the reason I wrote the book Fake is so you could understand what is happening along this line here. So hopefully you can protect yourself when the next crash comes. And it's coming. So people go, how do you know it's coming? Well, markets always crash. Everything goes up, everything comes down. I mean, that's real life. I mean, grow up. That's real life. The question is, how big will the next crash be? Another thing, too, is those crashes approximately every 10 years. The last crash was 2008. I'm talking to you today in June of 2018. So the question is, what's going to happen here? And it's because of this. Way back in 1996, I created the cash flow board game and wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, someplace in here, okay? Because I could see this coming. So I'm going to give you a little history now so you can track along this line here. Back in 1983, my teacher was Dr. R. Buckminster Fuller. And he's famous for the geodesic dome, which was the U.S. pavilion at the World's Fair in Montreal in 1967. So after Fuller passed away, I studied with him for 3 summers. He passed away on July 1st, 1983. Then after he died, this book came out posthumously. Now, Fuller is more known as a scientist and mathematician and architect. When he wrote this book, Grunch of Giants, It was a different book. It was a departure from what he normally wrote about. And GRUNCH stands for Gross Universal Cash Heist. Let me say it again. Gross Universal Cash Heist. It's about who really runs the world economy. So when I read this book, I understood it. I went, oh my God. But that was 1983, and that was a year I started going, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because I could see what's going to come. Because Bucky Fuller was a futurist primarily. So I read this book, Grunch of Giants, and then I began to study. For the first time in my life, back in 1983, I became a student. I was a screw-off before that, but in 1983, I became a student. I said, what is grunge? Who are these guys? Who are these guys that are controlling the world? That was my question. So as Fuller said, get the student out of school and get him back to his studies. So when I read this book, for the first time in my life, I became a student. Now, Fuller was saying the same thing my rich dad was saying. The game is rigged. The game of money is rigged against you and me. But rich dad couldn't really prove it. So what fake does is prove it. This book, Fake, is going to prove it to you. So that's why I need your input. What don't I answer? What questions do you have? If you don't like the book, that's your problem. I don't really care if you don't like the book. I want to know what I'm not covering. So this is 1983. In 1983, I met my beautiful sweetheart, Kim, and we quit our jobs and we went traveling to figure out what was grunge up to. How are they rigging the world economy? The next book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, comes out. This is my friend, G. Edward Griffin, wrote this book. As you can see, I love the book. I read it so many times and study it. In Fake, I talk about the three types of fakes there are in this world. Number one is fake money. Number two is fake teachers. And number three are fake assets. These guys here are real teachers. They actually do the real thing. So Edward Griffin is a real teacher. Most teachers in school, while they're good people, most of them really don't understand money. So they really can't teach you about money. So I call them fake teachers, because they tell you to go to school and get a job, save money. Why would you save money? And work hard and get out of debt and all that stuff. But they don't know what they're talking about. That's my poor dad, PhD. They're good people. 80% are good people, 20% aren't, 80-20 rule. But 80% are really good teachers, but as you know, our school system teaches us nothing about money. So that's why section number two in Fake is fake teachers. You got to know who the real teachers are. And so these are my real teachers here. So this is The Creature from Jekyll Island. You can see I've read many, many books. This is The Great Deformation. David A. Stockman. He was President Reagan's budget director. This guy is a real teacher. I mean, he can tell, I think he knows what he's talking about on the budget. So Fuller and Grunch wrote about this guy here. So I was getting the picture completed. And he was saying the same thing that Fuller was saying earlier about President Reagan. And then this book here is Road to Ruin, etc., etc. So let me go over what Fake's about. In 1971, President Richard A. Nixon,
well, I'm not a crook,
Tricky Dick, took the US dollar off the gold standard. Why is that significant?
I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States. Your dollar will be worth just as much tomorrow as it is today.
So why Nixon in 1971 saying the dollar's coming off the gold standard was supposed to be temporary is so important is the US dollar became fake money. It's exactly what my rich dad was saying to me. That's why the rich, lesson number one in Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the rich don't work for money, because in 1971 it became fake. And so it just chugs along like this, and you can see what happened. Nothing really happened, but the stock market went up. So the rich started to get richer because the stock market was going up. and the economy was booming because there was all this fake money flooding the system. Then there was this crash here in 1987. So in 1987, after they crashed, they said, oh my God, how do we prevent it from crashing again? So they started creating fake assets. Again, the three lessons in fake are fake money, 1971. Number two is fake teachers, because they don't know anything about money. And they tell you to get a job and save money. And then you have fake assets. So let me say it again. 71, crash, fake assets take over. And they start going like this, and like this, and like this, and it goes to 2000. So what happened in 1990 when President Clinton, he took it off the Glass-Steagall Act, and it turned all of this, our money, into a casino. One big casino. So mom and pop were in trouble. You and I were in trouble because President Clinton took away the Glass-Steagall Act. So they could take your savings and they could put it in the casino. If they lost your money, tough. The taxpayer covered the bill. That's why the Glass-Steagall Act in 1999 was so crucial. They took your savings, put it in the casino, and this happened. We have fake assets. So that's kind of what's going on right now. So we had this crash. So they created more fake assets. It went up. 2008, real estate, they said it was a real estate crash. It wasn't a real estate crash. It was a fake asset crash. A fake assets called CDOs, collateralized debt obligations, MBSs, mortgage-backed securities, and CDSs, credit default swaps, fake assets. That's what's going on. And when it crashed down here, they did it again. They printed even more fake assets. Because what happens when the markets crash, the rich get richer and everybody else gets poorer. We foot the bill. You and I, the taxpayer, foot the bill. Is that fair? So that's why I'm writing fake. That's why the Rich Dad Company was created. Because we have an answer out of it, but the way out of it is something not taught in school. It's called financial education. The whole business of markets is based upon losers, the same as Las Vegas. Las Vegas will not exist without losers. If everybody went to Las Vegas, and this is Glass-Steagall, 1999, President Clinton, by having so many losers come to Las Vegas, the winners walk away with the money. And we all know that. So the importance of 1999, President Clinton, and the Glass-Steagall Act is a stock market is based upon losers. And most of mom and pops are the losers. You and me are the losers. And then when it crashes and we bail the rich guys out, we lose again as taxpayers because we put the bill. That's what's happening. It all went back to 1971 here when President Nixon took us off the gold standard and we have fake money. James Rickards, he wrote this book, The Road to Ruin. Once again, this guy is a real teacher because he's actually in this every single day. He was an insider watching this crash right in here. It was called LTCM. It was a Russian ruble crash. Long-term, LTCM was long-term capital management. James Rickards was the attorney inside that company, so he saw the corruption inside the markets. That was the same year that Clinton was taking it off, repealing the Glass-Steagall Act. So this guy saw it out. This guy is a real teacher. So that's why I studied him. So this is a real teacher versus fake teachers. So this book just came out. It's called Collusion. And she's a real teacher too because she worked for a lot of those companies. She worked for, I think, Lehman Brothers. She worked for Goldman Sachs. You know, the 6 major guys. Well, there were before Lehman crashed, and now there's only 6 left. I think there was 14 before the crash. There's only 6 left now. So she worked for those guys, and she saw them packaging these fake assets. And so where collusion comes in, this book just came out in May 2018. That's how recent this book is. Nomi Prince, again, she's a real teacher. She picks up here. What happened in 2008? What did the federal government, what did the central banks of the world do? Like the Bank of Japan, the European Central Bank, the Federal Reserve Bank, the Bank of PBOC, the People's Bank of China. All of these guys, what did they have to do? So what they had to do was print more fake assets and pump this baby up here. So she explains what's happening in the world, so that it's a most amazing book. And it goes all the way back to this book here, Grunch, Gross Universal Cashless, 1983. So all of this is chugging along, and the other day, I'm cruising past a newsstand, and I don't necessarily subscribe to Time magazine. It's a good magazine, but I read The Economist and other things. And this magazine goes, psst, psst, pick me up. So I look at it and it says, How My Generation Broke America. And this here was absolutely disgusting. So this book in 1983 and this magazine, May 2018, verify the same thing. My generation graduated from elite universities and moved into the professional world, where their personal success, the elite's personal success, often had serious societal consequences. These brightest from America, like Ben Bernanke, went to MIT, Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, all that stuff. They ripped off the world. They were trained to rip off the world. That's why there's no financial education in schools. Second, he says, they, the elites, created an economy built on deals that moved assets around instead of building new ones. In other words, they never created assets. They created fake assets. CDOs, collateralized debt obligations, MBSs, mortgage-backed securities, and credit defaults, CWS, credit defaults, CDSs. They're fake. So they made immediate profits. They made massive amounts of money. They created exotic and risky financial instruments, including derivatives, which CDO, MBSs, and CDSs, credit default swaps are, and credit default swaps that produce sugar highs. So the rich really got really, really rich fast. The very guys that went to the schools, the best schools, created these fake assets to make themselves and the 6 major banks richer than ever before. They produced sugar highs of immediate profits, but separated those taking the risk from those who would bear the consequences. So the way out of it is for financial education. And you can do it. Everybody could do it, but you have to understand the game. After 1971, this is what happens to people who save money. The purchasing power of the dollar is going down because they're printing money. And our school teachers, these fake teachers, again, they're good people. Well, these financial planners still tell you to save money. Well, why would you save money when these guys are printing it faster than you could ever save it? That's bad teaching, bad financial advice, horrible. So he says, and then the second thing, they tell you to save money and invest for the long term in the stock market. This guy is saying, are you nuts? This is Stockman. He was Reagan's budget director. He's a real teacher. He was there. This is the whole stock market is rigged for the rich. Again, it's a casino. And a casino is depends upon all these losers coming in, so those at the top can win. So the losers started coming in right around here, 1974. It was a thing called the 401k. They needed more losers to enter the market. And what do the financial planners tell you? Save money and invest for the long term in the stock market. They needed people to come in here and push this up. Again, it's a casino like Las Vegas. A lot of losers walk in, winners walk out with the money. That's the game. Now again was Glass-Steagall. They organize hedge funds that turn owning a stock into a minute, 2-minute bet rather than invest for the long term. It's a casino. We don't know when, but it will come down. Then all those guys with those 401ks, toast. That's why the Rich Dad Company was formed. That's why I catch so much hell saying savers are losers, you know. Why invest for the long term in the stock market when it's a casino? My concern is the old guys like me are sitting there with their retirement plans, which are broke. You know, the California retirement system is broke. Hawaii retirement system is broke. Chicago's retirement system is broke. And if and when this baby comes down, my generation is toast. The way out is through real financial education, not that fake financial education, which is go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, get out of debt, and invest for the long term in the stock market. Rich Dad is exactly opposite. But it takes financial education to do what we do. The good news is this: in the final chapter of Fake, everybody can do something. I don't care where you are, rich or poor, everybody can do something. So that's why I wrote Fake, and I trust you enjoy the book. Thank you.